And welcome back to the SMITE Challenger Circuit. We're still hanging out in Europe, but this time you've got me, myself, Gore, Mifflin over there. I wanted to say Mifflelf, like
I thought you were
going to
call me Gore for a second.
yeah, I've got Gore on the desk with me, and I'm Mifflin. No, yeah. We're going to be sticking around in Europe over here, and of course we're going to be watching, again, these. I really like these. I'm looking at the logos. You can see the WARGS behind me, the Ferrymen over there. I'm stoked with these new SCC names, man. And we've got a lot of names on this one, Mifflin, so I'm really excited to see what these two teams are going to be bringing into this. But again, we're still in Europe, still in week number 1. You know, it feels like just a couple weeks ago we were watching these teams qualify. And that's because we were just a couple weeks ago watching these teams qualify for the SCC. And I'm excited to see how things are going to adapt from then to now. Now that it's going to be round robin, you can take a look at the schedule for today and see what exactly these teams are going to be going up against. Again, I mentioned the Ferrymen and the WARGS, and then a little bit later, I'm sorry, for Europe, which is going to be a lot a bit later. In fact, it's tomorrow. That is going to be the Ravens versus the Mambo. Hex Mambo? How do you shorten Mambo? Here's what I'm going to ask you.
I think you just call them like
Hex Mambo?
Yeah, because what is a Mambo?
Look at their logo.
Yeah, it's sick.
God, they're so good. Either way, that's going to be Europe for us, and it's going to be fun to watch. So make sure you're tuning in tomorrow at 11 to catch the remainder of the EU SCC. But right now, we're going to figure out who is going to come out on top between the Ferrymen and the WARGS. And Mifflin, again, a lot of big names in this matchup.
Yeah, starting with the Ferrymen, you've got Azrael, you've got Ice Gunter, Okeano, Streak Up. I shouldn't have to say these names. You should just know, right? Like, these are guys that have been around for an incredibly long time. And also, I would argue, probably have, like, the coolest logo in the EU SCC right now.
That is a really sick logo. They
It's
got
tight.
the boat. They got, like, the actual, like, Reaper. Well, I guess it's not the Reaper. It's Charon, I believe, is his name. It's fun fact. That's what Charon's coin is named after.
Coin.
It's because you pay the Ferryman to go across the river Styx.
You usually pay a drachma, though, right? I read
It's
Percy
like
Jackson.
2 gold drachma, right? And that's why they always put the gold coins over your eyes.
Okay, if we're gonna have a lore off, you gotta
You
want to
go?
You gotta let me know beforehand.
No, yeah. So it's gonna be fun to watch. Again, it is a really cool logo. I guess is where I was going with that and trying to pivot that into another cool logo, the WARGS, the NIFLHEIM WARGS behind me. You had mentioned it, Kana, Sarpei, Angry, Pred, Spudio. Again, a lot of huge names in this matchup. Makes me very excited because this is essentially 2 European SCC powerhouses clashing against each other, and having something like this in week 1, knowing that this is going to make a relative difference for them going towards the end of this phase, especially with how I feel like tight Europe is. Looking at like a majority of these rosters, there's not a lot of wiggle room for taking losses and things like that. So realistically, this should be a really action-packed set.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of action in the duo lane, particularly both Okeano, Streak Up, Preds, and Spudio are players that both of these teams want to play through. And considering how Season 9 is currently sitting, with so much emphasis in the duo lane, so much farm on that side of the map, I feel like we're going to see a lot of emphasis there in the picks.
We'll see whether or not we see a lot of emphasis there in the picks as we get into picks and bans for game number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and preface this as action-packed as I think this set will be. Mastkill did kind of get a Penta in game 1. It's really difficult to keep the hype going when you get a Penta in the first game of the SCC. It's the first day, the first time it comes back, and Mastkill just kind of has to pop off a little bit. So we'll see whether or not the WARGS or the Ferrymen here are going to be able to give us anything like that. I also love this. I made a spreadsheet for SCC this year.
Yep.
And I'm just very happy to see that the tags that are up at the top here are exactly what I did, but they were completely independent from the tags that we came up with because I just wanted something that made sense to me. So we nailed it. Same Brave. Go us. Either way, Kabrakan, Agni, Kepri getting banned out right now. Jormungandr was a pretty big ban, not just last set, Mifflin, but realistically during the entire duration of most of the EU qualifiers.
Yep.
Where is he standing, and should I expect to see him here?
I think it is likely that we see that at least banned out or picked. I think the EU really do prioritize this pick. For me personally, Jormungandr finds himself in a spot of, okay, he's pretty good. He does decent damage. Disruption is very nice. He's great survivability. Some of the best survivability you can get out of the soul lane. But he doesn't have the most CC. He doesn't have the most damage. I think he's in a middle ground right now where one buff, he's going to be top of the meta in both North America and EU. Currently, as he stands, I think he's outclassed by a couple of characters. If you want poke, if you want damage, the assassin soul laners seem to step a little bit further into that range. The Kleena solos, the Bastets. If you want survivability, I think things like Tyr, Sun Wukong's still there as well, especially with how Soul Eater is currently standing. But Jormungandr, is a pick that I am no longer adamantly against. I think it certainly can work.
And wait, maybe we'll see it. In fact, we will. He gets locked in right there. Perfect timing. Alongside a Sobek, so that's presumably the STYX Ferrymen's front line already set and solid. It's the clean on the other side. We did get to see the Bastet, the Heimdall, the Kepri band by the STYX on one side, and then the Wargs did get rid of Kabrakan, Agni, and Medusa. They've now got Kleena, they've got Thoth, and Mifflin. If I'm talking power picks, so far they've got two hard hitters, and they go for the Daji. So this Kleena, and we've seen her bounce between both, but it feels like this is going to go solo.
Yeah, Kleena likely for solo here. You've got great clear potential. Jungle buff invade, I think one of the strongest assets of Kleena's solo lane ability. If she's given just a moment, you've got 2 charges of the ult the wave, walk into the jungle, ult the enemy blue buff. Not many people can keep up with that level of clear, so you're able to kind of act as a solo agent on that side of the map. You've got phenomenal scaling come late game, great poke potential, Totem Aku control for the most part going to go your way as well thanks to that ultimate. Kleena's very, very versatile in that way. And just looking at the Wargs draft, just the top 3 already, I'm like, if there was like a ranked chat on the side, my whole team would be like, yo, why'd you let all these picks through, right? I think if the Wargs were in a blind pick situation, they wouldn't be far off of this. This is exactly a draft that you can just dominate with.
Well, they finish out, the Ferrymen that is, finish out their top 3 with a Kamazotz, and we can break that down because he's probably going to be going into the jungle, and we can talk about that matchup presumably with the Daji. But the bans afterward, you got a Horus, you've got a Terra on one side, and you've got Sol, as well as that Chiron getting taken away. And I wanted to make a bad joke about, haha, they banned Heimdall against the NIFLHEIM Wargs because that's what he does with his ult, you know, but that's my way of getting it out there, but not making it funny whatsoever.
No,
so I doubled down
laughed.
even harder. I'm laughing about it now just because it's so bad. Either way, a couple of standard-ish bans, as well as, like, you know, the Chiron maybe catching me off. Terra seems like something that, at least in Europe, makes a lot of sense. And they get a Hachiman, which is not exactly where my mind was going, but it's locked in, and he runs the lane pretty cleanly.
He does. Hachiman, very safe, very survivable, has decent ability to take some of these 1v1s, but if you want to talk about 1v1 ability, you got to bring up the Ho Yi on the other side. It's incredibly strong. Both of these guys maybe lacking a bit in terms of objective play. Sure, Ho Yi can lock down the jungle lane for a little bit with the Raining Suns, but Hachiman specifically really only bringing that Heavenly Banner to his team gives you everybody else a little bit of attack speed. But when you talk about like the super meta hunters, like the Izanamis, the Medusas of the world, having them limited by bans, it seems both of these teams have contented themselves with that next up tier.
So how do you feel, you know, not just 1v1s, let's expand it to the 2v2s, Sobek, Hachi, versus Iset Ho Yi, because that's what I have to assume is going on here for the Wargs.
Iset Ho Yi probably smacks that lane, I'd say, right? Like, Iset is just so strong right now. So those of you who've been playing Iset support in my casuals and ranked games, you've been maxing Spirit Ball. Stop doing that. Instead, max Dispel Magic. That's the third ability, the Silence.
Which I'm going to go ahead and pause you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that, but I think it only works because she's support, right? Like, there's no reason. We'll see whether or not that is what gets maxed here in game number 1. But, you know, you're like, okay, mid, you want to go, you know, either Spirit Ball or Wing Gust. What's Dispel? Like, what is Dispel Magic giving me, dude?
In support, it's essentially a Geb shield for your ADC, but also you're silencing the other guy, and also you're slowing them. So it makes it that much easier for Ho Yi to line up these ricochets. It makes it that much easier for anybody to find that CC, to find that follow-up damage, and it allows you, with that HP shield that you gain, to play aggressively in the lane. So keep maxing that one out. It is phenomenal. Generally, we see it immediately into the Spirit Ball afterward because you're not really getting the opportunity to full channel Wing Gust on just about any role. I think that Spirit Ball is probably going to be the better option of those two.
Especially against a Sobek.
Especially against a Sobek, or even up against like Ice who can remove himself from the play field, or even just like that escapability that Streak Up has with Hachiman, just hop on the horse. You're probably not going to be able to get off too much of that Wing Gust. It's just a very inconsistent ability. But that said, now looking at the NIFLHEIM Wargs top to bottom draft, 5 stacked, they are lacking mightily in frontline. They don't have a single standard frontline pick. They've got 2 assassins, a very far back artillery mage in Thoth. You've got Ho Yi who can self-peel, but who's starting these fights? Is it going to be Preds every time? Because that's hard to execute on.
Especially early on. I mean, you're going to see a big difference, I think, in just the presence of a Sobek versus the presence of an Isa. Damage-wise, yes, it's going to be the Wargs, but at least in staying power, I think Okeanos has a lot more to offer to this lane. So that's going to be fun to watch. We did have this conversation a little bit during the kickoff LAN, and I think a little bit during some of the qualifiers for these teams, which is that balancing point of your, like your CC, your amount of control, who's engaging, the fact that some of these mages, specifically like ESET, can work well with a few of the newer, like kind of hybrid items that give her a little bit of tankiness a little bit faster. It's still not as much as, say, going for like a Thebes into a Sovereignty into a X, Y, or Z, right? Like you're just going to have more if you're Sobek in terms of tankiness.
Well, Sobek, yeah, from the passive as well. Every time you land an auto attack, getting additional protections up to 3 stacks. Yeah, the armor looks dope. But I think ESET with the standard build that we've been seeing, either it is you've got that range, you've got that ability to go a little bit more towards that hybrid, you get some more damage, sure. But we've also seen ESET rush the Lonos mask. We've immediately seen that, where you can just go get that additional percent defense, sacrificing a good deal of damage, sacrificing the ability to confirm some of these objectives, but will shore up that lack of frontline a little bit for the NIFLHEIM Wargs. So I'm curious to see where Preds allocates his gold, where he goes in these builds.
Now here's what I'm going to say. And this is just strictly looking at this duo lane. And I'm sure you can agree with me on this, but when it comes down to skins versus each other, I have to say they're rocking, I think, my favorite ESET skin and but specifically my favorite Sobek skin. There's a little bit of a root on the ice and some good damage. But the ESET skin, specifically the You Suck ESET skin is what I call it, just because that's her.
Oh, the vampire one.
Yeah, the vampire one. And then, of course, the pirate Sobek. Instead, though, Sarpei kind of just having to watch his jungle get taken in front of him, not offering up a lot in terms of fight. Azriel's getting aggressive on the Kana. It's 2 assassins versus the Guardian and the Camazotz here. Jormungandr is already just establishing a massive presence here. They're trying to steal away the blue buff alongside the back camps they just took. All it's going to take is a couple of hits. Kana walks up. Kana's not going to be able to get it. So Azriel gets a good steal, and they manage to walk away. Small gold lead, about 300, 200 in favor of the Ferrymen, but they've been getting a little more aggressive in the jungle.
Yeah, pretty massive experience advantage will go the way of the Ferrymen shortly. You do get a little bit less gold, a little bit less farm when you invade camps, and once you fall back, start clearing out your own, that's where that lead is going to start to establish itself. Sarpei does tick over to level 4 first, but Ice has got so much more farm on the map that he's going to be able to clear out over the next couple of seconds. And one of the main strengths of going for these invades and leaving your own camps up is that now, if Sarpei wants to pick up farm on a good route, he's going to have to split with somebody. Either be in mid or in solo, he's going to have to go to one of these lanes. Whereas Ice, having left his entire jungle available, can sit there, solo it out, and let his lanes single-handedly farm. So it's going to be a much better split of or allocation of farm here for the STYX Ferrymen.
I don't think we've touched on it yet, but the Wargs have the best objective secure, I think, that I've seen on a team. Thothel and the ESET ult.
It's gross.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot for the Ferrymen eventually to have to worry about, and that's something, as I noticed people taking over to level 5 and seeing those diamonds come online, it all kind of skyrocketed in my brain as how insane that's going to be around like Gold Furies. But the thing then would be is like burn potential. Actually, I think they have burn because of all the damage they just have built into their kits as well.
Yeah, between like their double assassin composition, I would argue that Daji is like one of the best assassins for it just because of the passive on her auto attacks, applying that bleed. It's going to be pretty easy for the Wargs to go in towards these objectives, but it's about controlling space once you get there, which is going to be difficult considering no front line. You might have the best secure, but it's going to be a risky play to go for it. You drop Thoth and Circle Protection onto these objectives, you've got nothing left in the tank to take these fights, and the front line of the STYX Ferrymen is very strong. Their initiation is very strong. Okeanos can start off the fight with a pluck. Azriel with the World Serpent can close gap onto that backline very easily. Ice is going to be acting as a diver. Even to a certain extent, Gunter on this Tiamat, when he's in that quadrupedal stance, can match up that level of aggression with the rest of his team. So that just leaves Streak up on his own in the backline, and man's got a horse. He can either leave or catch up with his team.
I don't know what I was expecting, but man's got a horse is not in. Suns get dropped here on the Spudio. Well, it's not going to help you out as much as you would like. Ice Streak up. Continue the chase down. The horse does get used. And Ice finally gets his gank. They had gone for a little bit of aggression around that purple buff, not able to find it. But they get the first blood, Mifflin. And they get it onto the jungler. I mean, you got to talk about Ice's history. You've got to talk about the fact that this guy's been in World Finals constantly. It feels like this is not the guy that you want to pick up this first blood.
And especially not on this kind of pick, right? Camazotz with an early lead can start going in towards that Jotun's pretty early on, start getting some of that penetration. Already has the CDR. Ice having backed and picked up Jotun's for himself, as well as the Tier 1 Mei. So that's a huge boon in power. He's already got a level lead over Sarpei in the jungle, and he's got some pretty clear targets to start looking towards. Not only can you rotate over towards Spudio, who was able to maintain his beads at least, but not something I think Camazotz is too concerned about. He can just chase you down with that ultimate, but also maybe making some rotations over towards Kana, who likely can only walk into a wall. You don't really have the greatest escape walls in the solo lane. Pretty easy for Ice to chase him out there, and doesn't have any defense either, so it's just that dash to close up that gap. And, well, Ice has got a leap, and he can go up into the air and swoop down like 3-4 times. That should be a pretty good target, especially considering Soul Eater as the first pickup for Kleena. That's a slow item. You're going to get a little bit more lifesteal, but not going to get that ability lifesteal until it upgrades, meaning that not going to have very much survivability until it upgrades. I'd like to see Ice make some rotations over there again.
Yeah, maybe something that can benefit them all. He's already in the jungle over there. And it looked like he was going to run into Sarpei. I was interested to see if maybe he'd go for a fight. He just wants those back camps, and they are mighty appetizing right now. He's going to have Okeanos coming in for backup, and that seems to be enough for Sarpei to just go ahead and get on out of there. They're going to be able to take both if they want. No, the blue buff is the target. Clean into the wall. Blue buff is going to get taken away. Okeanos is looking for a little bit of a fight. I thought that the Ferrymen were going to maybe push for more. They kind of got what they wanted. They got the back camps. They got the blue buff. They can get out pretty cleanly and not have to worry about it. Yeah,
they knew Angry rotated over towards the left side of the map as Okeanos lines up against two. And Green Preds need to play safely here. I don't think they spawned out Gunter, positioning and aggressive.
Well, Streak Up, speaking of aggressive, goes in immediately. The EI Jutsu almost enough, but not good enough. Now, Spudio has to drop the sun, has to drop the beads, but he maintains his life.
Well, maybe not for too much longer, though. Having used that ultimate and the relic in exchange for just Streak Up's ultimate, there's an opportunity now for the Wargs to try and get aggressive in the duo lane. Hachiman, having lost out on that cooldown, going to be easy to lock him out, and I think he may have given up his life.
Yeah, Sarpei goes aggressive immediately. Good silence. There's the beads in retaliation, but the Palau comes in, and Sarpei is going to get the damage necessary. Streak Up trades it out, and so maybe punished a little bit for the aggression. And now he doesn't have his ult or his beads, so the Hunters are pretty much match for match.
Yeah, that was going to be exactly what I said. The Wargs have an opportunity to rotate over and try and shut down Streak Up and force out that relic before the ultimate comes back up. They did one better. They got there before my man got back to base and shut him down, immediately taking away that relic. I'd argue Hou-Yi, Spudio, in a very good spot. Well, not literally.
Yeah, maybe not right now. Okeanos is going to get the pluck. The stun didn't come through. The mark is on the Camazotz, and now you just have to run from your tower.
Really?
Spudio has nowhere to go. Maybe the most unnecessary bat out of hell I've ever seen, but it is going to escape from Sarpei, and now Preds is rotating over. Ice doesn't have the ult. But there's not a lot of damage follow-up. In fact, it's going to be Preds instead who's turned on Ice wants the fight, and he's going to chase down this ESET. She jukes back immediately back into the jungle here. Preds is going to be able to get the circle of protection off. Healing's good, but not good enough. Ice gets the kill, and he's off to a 3-0 start.
And the timing of it allows the purple buff to be looked at as well. STYX FERRYMEN in a very good position. Preds lose out on the ultimate and the beads. Spudio still no beads. Golden experience favoring the chaos, and they're going to keep up this aggression. Ice stepping up, attempts the red buff invade. Unsuccessful this time, but nothing venture, nothing gain. I can't argue with that decision making. Had Ice held on to that ultimate, not using it for the last hit though, I think we may have seen him get a little bit more aggressive there. But considering Sarpei's ult is back up and we don't have beads available to Ice just yet, as he still is level 10. Gonna go ahead and let that one fizzle out, rather. It is surprising to see that Sarpei has done such a good job in keeping up in farm, though, isn't it? Especially considering the right side of the map has not been available to the Wargs for the first 10 minutes of the game.
Essentially, I think that might have been the first back camp that I've seen Sarpei get on that side of the map. So impressive from them. You had mentioned the Soul Eater earlier. That's fully stacked here for Kana. Like, take a glance over to the solo lane. We also get the Celestial Legion helmet. Of all the people I thought I was going to see that on the quickest, I wasn't actually leaning on the Jormungandr. I thought it was going to be potentially the ESET, probably the Thoth, although the double pin build really works out well for Thoth. So it's something that gives, I mean, if you're looking at that lane, it's exactly what he needs, right? Here's some power to sustain, and here's some protections to live.
Yeah, I think Jormungandr has the opportunity to just like keep going down that helmet tree as well. Jade Emperor is incredibly strong, has a lot of options to go towards these bruiser items. You really do want to lean a little bit more so towards bruiser or damage on Jormungandr. He's got so much survivability hard baked into the kit that you don't necessarily need to get it all from your defense. So I like that he has gone a little bit more so power focused.
Well, Preds is getting a little focused now. It's Sarpé up onto the Powwow. He's going to be tossing some chains out there. Not going to be able to find too much. Didn't connect on Gunter, so beads maintained for everyone that has him on the Ferryman, and Sarpé just has to back off. The rest of the team acknowledges that. Preds has been doing a great job, at least, of peeling for the team. Spirit Balls, as well as the silences, the Dispel Magics. But it's not enough to stop your red buff from getting invade purple buff. And now Sarpé's chasing down Streak Up. He's low, but that horse moves you just enough. Sarpé just used the dash to close the gap. Streak Up doesn't get under the tower. Sarpé's going to be able to finally get a kill back, but did you go too far for it? Ice, Gunter, and Okeanos all here and ready to fight. In fact, Okeanos taking way too much. The Suns from Spudio helped peel. That seems to be all the Ferrymen want.
Spudio comes up massive in that fight. It was a double bounce on a streak up that allowed Sarpé to get so aggressive on that side of the map. And, well, he had to hop on the horse and escape, and it's pretty hard to escape from someone who's got a heat-seeking teleport like Sarpé does on this Daji pick. Very easy for him to finish off that kill. And then the peel potential immediately afterward. The route from Angry onto Okeanos inside the Reigning Suns from Spudio. Just too much damage, and the STYX Ferrymen were not allowed to continue stepping forward. Great peel, great initiation, but gotta give credit where it's due. Spudio makes that all happen.
It's maintained this gold lead, at least for the Wargs, to make sure that it doesn't get too far out of hand, right? It was starting to get close to 2,000 earlier. Let's just hover around the 1K, 1,300 experience. We had already highlighted how impressive it is for Sarpé keeping pace. You know, you see the level difference in mid, a level difference there in duo, but Sarpé has been on point. Angry is just slightly behind, so it's not even that big of a deal. And it feels like the Ferrymen had a good start for everything, but all their eggs may be in one basket since Ice is all of the kills and realistically has been getting a majority of the farm that's been stripped from the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking a moment ago, I know it's only one level lead in the jungle for Ice, 13 at Sarpé's 12, but right before Sarpé had gotten that pickup on a streak up, it was a 2-level gap in the jungle. It was a 2-level gap in mid as well, but Angry's been doing a good job farming up the map, has gone for a slightly more aggressive build, so should be scaling slightly faster than what we'll see from Gunter on the other side, who's decided to pick up a Chronos Pendant in his second slot. The NIFLHEIM Wargs, they're behind, but not far.
Yeah, they're not suffering too much. Okeanos kind of showcasing that talent of staying alive we had mentioned earlier. And I thought we were about to have to talk about a 13-minute Fire Giant pull. Luckily, they were just fighting in the FG pit, so it's nowhere near as outrageous as it seemed. But Azrael takes a lot of damage there, Mifflin, and it kind of showcases, I mean, you can see a Divine Ruin alongside the Celestial Legion helmet's a little bit of protection, but not as much. And here's where the burn and the secure we talked about earlier comes in hand. Wargs start at the Gold Fury, and guess what? Wargs get the Gold Fury. There's not much of a contest for this one. Circle of Protection pops, and they secure some gold in their pocket, and they even take the gold lead away from the Ferrymen.
That's the SMITE classic. Hey, Soul Laner says, hey, there are 2 in my lane. Can we do something on the other side? And your boys are like, yeah, we can pick up a gold Fury pretty easily, especially with the composition that the Wargs have got for themselves. No answer from the STYX Ferrymen, and even had they decided to, Sarpé was doing a very good job positioning himself very aggressively on the map, actually playing around that obelisk, making sure that nobody could walk in.
There's some aggression. Ice tries to get aggressive. Oh, Preds almost gets plucked, but it's not enough from Okeanos. Taking a lot of damage from the tower. About half health here and is going to back away. Preds manages to get out of there with their life. They did have to drop the beads they picked up earlier. They went for a Heartward Amulet, and this is something I was going to talk to you about earlier. I mean, you've got, admittedly, I guess Gunter doing a lot of magical damage, and with Azrael's build a little bit of it, but Streak Up and Ice are I think, more potable threats to me if I'm an ESET.
Yeah, maybe, but Preds might be hedging his bet that, like, hey, I'm playing support. I'm really hoping Ice isn't going on me. Streak Up really hopefully not try and dive on me. So instead, if you're playing around your back line, you got to concern yourself with Azrael. You got to stand in front of Gunter. And, well, that first ability, the Primordial Onslaught, stops on first Scott hit. So you can just have ESET stand in front of it. Even Okeanos, to a certain extent, going to deal a little bit of damage with that Pridwin pickup. Some Bruiser power going his way. So I'm not going to argue with Preds and his Heart Ward decision. Maybe going in towards that Void Stone in the 3rd slot, though. Double dipping on Magic defense, getting a little bit of that power available. In picking up power, I think that does indicate to the STYX FERRYMEN that it's pretty unlikely that Preds will go for Lono's Mask. It's going to be a true dedicated bruiser style.
Well, they're going to maybe not even actually need it. Preds, it's a lot of damage out there for someone who has a build like this. Kana, of course, helping out there. Force the ult from Azrael. Bounces around, bullies a little bit in the lane, but doesn't leave anywhere near as much as was dealt to him. Ice is going to get dove on. Sarpei's going for a little bit more. They've got the damage. Bat out of hell gets used. Sarpei is low. And a good silence from Pred stops Okeanos, I believe, right as the pluck was going to go. He scoops up Preds, tosses him back to Gunter. But there's not much you can do. Circle protection dropped, and that's going to be enough healing for Preds and Sarpei. Sarpei's not going to be in it. Goes up onto the Powwow. Is looking for some pulls. Grabs Okeanos. They get the stun. They get the damage, but not enough to get the kill here. A lot of punches thrown back and forth, but no blood yet. Kana now surrounded by 3, but he gets saved thanks to the damage from Angry and some good peel by Preds. A lot of punch back and forth, Mifflin. But the only one that dies is the Pyromancer.
Spudio's positioned very aggressively here, maybe not realizing how many STYX FERRYMEN are standing nearby, forced to use that escape defensively. Jumps back towards the rest of his boys, and the Wargs are able to peel him out. Objective does go to the STYX FERRYMEN. I think that fight really is saved by Sarpei's ultimate. The Powwow picking up Ice, forcing out those beads, making sure that Ice couldn't get aggressive, was not allowed to continue stepping forward, and the Wargs disengage. It's not exactly what they wanted. It's not the ideal situation, but being able to walk out of that sticky situation with all your lives, considering how great that fight started for the STYX FERRYMEN and forcing out the circle protection and forcing Preds back and pulling away some of those relics, that may have been best case scenario for the NIFLHEIM Wargs. STYX FERRYMEN were just in a much better position to look towards that objective.
And being able to pick that up, again, you know, I look up the gold. It's like 400, 500 gold. Like, it means kind of nothing.
Yeah, literally
17 and a half minutes. So realistically, you get an objective, but you just keep yourselves in that completely even conversation. The fact that no one dies there may be a bigger deal. Fire Giant, with that many people right around there, 18 minutes in, yeah, that's absolutely easy call if you're able to get some sort of lead. But now it's back to what we have been used to, right? The burn from the Wargs, something that I think needs to be worried about. Angry, more specifically. I mean, you can see it. He's a little bit behind where Kana is, but he got a lot of damage from that fight.
Pred's in some trouble. Vampiric Bat's no good, so Pred should be able to walk himself out of there. Okeanos, even if he does land the pluck, does not have any follow-up behind him. I am curious that Angry has gone essentially untouched so far this game. Nobody from the STYX FERRYMEN has been making a concentrated effort on closing gap towards the Thoth. It seems like the STYX FERRYMEN are very much happy to just hit whoever's in front of them. They're really playing around that pluck from Okeanos. So Angry, probably feeling pretty good for himself. Has not had to use a relic just yet this game. Hasn't really been under threat at all.
He's already got the glory of being able to sit like 20 meters behind the fight anyway. So hey, why not go ahead and feel even more safe? Both Beads and Aegis sitting there, calming, relaxing, reassuring in their nature. Yeah, I'm happy with it if I'm Thoth here. I have no complaints. Maybe some notes for Ice. 3 kills. We saw him all really rapid succession early game. And he has not picked up any others, neither has the rest of the team. And StreakUp has been the only one that realistically has gotten bullied. So, you know, kind of a lightning rod, and it was the duo lane for the Wargs that died. So left-hand side's been where things are popping off. Oni Fury coming up. With a positioning like this, you have to assume they're going to go for a fight, but they're looking for Okeanos, and Okeanos is just getting burned down. The damage is going to be there. Spudio gets credit for the kill, but they want a little bit more. They pull Ice in, and Ice has to leap away. Beads down one more time for the Camazotz. Preds took a lot of damage. Gunter leaps forward. Circle protection only gets a little bit of healing, and it's not enough. StreakUp gets the kill, but takes a lot in return. The jump in from Spudio is enough to find the kill, and StreakUp goes down 2 for 1, and the chase is still going. Ice, Gunter, Azrael, they're fighting back. Ice gets 1. Azrael's gonna go down, and Ice is looking for a little bit more, but he doesn't get far away. Thoth and Spudio combined for the damage. Spudio gets a triple, and they keep things rolling in the mid lane.
Just again, the Wargs backline goes untouched in an entire team fight. Nobody looked at Spudio. It was inconsequential collateral damage. Everything that touches Angry, everything that touches Spudio was not the intention of the STYX FERRYMEN, and allowing these two carries to do whatever they want. they lose out on that team fight. Worth noting that Ice was pulled in by the Powwow despite having beads available, loses out on 50% of his HP, late beadsing that ultimate from Daji, so Sarpei gets major value from that ultimate in his own right, and then you lose out on the beads for Camazotz. He's already dropped low, wasn't allowed to resustain in that fight, so Ice takes the entire engagement essentially from behind. You start off that fight as well with Okeanos getting picked out. NIFLHEIM Wargs doing a very good job playing around their CC, and it is a tight rope that the Wargs are navigating right now because it is not easy to play these fights without a front line. Whoever gets hit, be it Preds, be it Kana, it doesn't necessarily matter because they're both generally pretty squishy despite their builds, in spite of them. So the STYX Ferrymen, I think, have been getting baited a little bit in that they are very willing to commit onto Kana, they are very willing to commit onto Preds, but somebody's got to close gap onto this backline. Angry and Spudio cannot be continually allowed to just do whatever they want.
This is going to be where maybe the pressure gets applied. Last time I thought the Wars were looking for this Oni Fury. Preds has Circle of Protection back up, so it'd be a lot easier for them to burn down. Mifflin, the thing that stands out to me the most after that fight is largely 5 beads untouched by the Wars. Like, that entire column is just relaxed and not on cooldown. Of course, we get to see the Stone of Binding here from Preds as well, so a little bit of Prot Shred that gets locked in for the support. I mean, you know, you're talking about it, and I think it's worth mentioning, as you said, not tanky at all. But when it comes down to hitting CC and controlling what the Ferrymen are able to do around them, I think that Preds is applying a lot. And again, this is a team that has a lot of pressure to just start up a Fury. They can do it right in Okeanos' face like they are now. Not have to worry too much about it, though. Preds level 13, taking a lot of damage here. Half health. I think that's going to be the mark to back up. Kana's made the rotation, so is Azriel. So we've got the 5-on-5 waiting to pop off here on the left.
Okeanos playing with fire. If he goes for the pluck, Spudio's got a great build for tank shredding already with the kin size and the silver branch. It's a lot of penetration, good deal of HP, or percentage HP damage as well. So Okeanos going to have to play cautiously here. Whereas the rest of the Wargs, doesn't seem like they're playing with caution. It seems like they're doing just about whatever they want. Surprised that Preds has just continually hovered around. He would have had time to go back to base by now. Still sitting at about 60% HP, maybe waiting for his opportunity to get involved in this fight, but no fight coming his way. The STYX Ferrymen, they say, hey, if you guys want to fight over the Oni Fury, you're going to have to pull it out first. You need to generate that threat because just standing near it, there's no reason for the Chaos team to step up.
I don't know if you saw it, but Preds scared the hell out of a ghost there in the jungle with the spear ball. Make sure that they know. Is hovering around. I mean, I actually like watching this. So Preds is 2 levels down in support, and you know that can feel massive. I mean, a level 17 when it does come around for Okeanos is a nice big upgrade spot compared to what this ESET's going to be experiencing. But Preds has just been sitting next to this Fury to make sure it doesn't get taken. They lose out on one of those Oracle Harpies. Kana's been hanging out in this wall a whole ton, getting some decent damage out there, and there's good poke from Angry. But Mifflin, it hadn't felt like enough for the Wargs to feel fully confident in this Oni Fury. They're going to start pulling it, and they do have the capabilities. And look, 2 ults that are more than good enough to burn this down.
They got
Straight Up's going to go in.
Yeah, there's no way there's a steal here. The Wargs just able to easily confirm that with circle protection, and then that is the risk that the STYX Ferrymen take. If you back up for even a second, if Preds is allowed to drop that ultimate when the objective's sub 50%, you lose the objective.
Ice takes about half their health trying to get aggressive. Angry finally pressured out, beats Aegis used, but the dash is going to be good enough to get away. Azriel goes into the World Serpent. Looks cool. Doesn't really get a lot done. Maybe displaces a little bit. Some damage onto Sarpei. But the Ferrymen making a feint over towards the Pyromancer. This is going to be a big fight for them. It depends on how aggressive the Wargs want to get. Kana can spot this out. Kana's not going to be able to go for the steal. Gets a little bit of poke. Spudio's in the neighborhood as well, but it's a 3v5 until further notice.
Yeah, and there's no fight coming this way. With Pyromancer having already fallen, there's not a whole lot on the map that you can look towards realistically at this point. If Preds had ultimate up, I would argue that NIFLHEIM Wargs might be able to go for the Fire Giant itself, but because he had just used it on the other objective, there's no threat there. The STYX Ferrymen, though, do still need to concern themselves. Stopped ultimate still available, means there is still confirmation.
Oh my god, Azriel takes way more damage than I think he was anticipating here. And that is a good shot from Angry to make sure that it stays down. Okeanos caught in the Suns. The shell is going to be enough for just a few more seconds of life, but not enough to get you out of there. 2 immediately off the board. That's the front line gone for the Ferrymen.
And you know, it's a point you made a little bit earlier, Gore, but take a peek at the beats from the Wargs. Only one used so far in the last couple of fights, and it's Angry. It was at least a priority target. Who's burning the beads for the Ferryman? It's just Okeanos.
It's not maybe not getting as much done. Gunter gets taken down. Ice is gonna have to back here. I mean, some vampiric pools maybe around the map to exist to heal him up. The Fire Giant started. Preds has that circle protection back. Preds is also getting pretty low here. He's gonna have to play carefully. There's the circle protection. Dropped, charges almost instantaneously. And the Wargs are gonna get the Fire Giant. They get it on all 5, and you had called it out with a minute left here before Angry's beads are back up. That's the only real threat that exists on the board for them. The Wargs gonna start tearing down the right lane.
Yeah, synced up Aegis timers between Angry and Kana, so about a minute for both of them for that damage immunity to come back, but it's going to be very hard for the STYX Ferrymen to find opportunities to make use of that, especially if Angry is feeling confident enough to dash forward.
Jeez, Azrael can't even get into the World Serpent. The damage is just too much from the Wargs. And now they're standing outside the Phoenix. They're just waiting on the minions. This is all just for courtesy. Ice burned like it's nothing. Okeanos trying to disrupt a little bit. Sarpé goes deep. Bat out of hell. Ends up helping trade that one out. Streak up. Gets the kill onto Sarpé. The Phoenix does still fall, but that's going to help push back the Wargs.
Unnecessary death there for Sarpé. I think the NIFLHEIM Wargs had just had that Phoenix dead to rights. Okeanos dashes forward, but no CC nearby for the Wargs. Preds was too far into the jungle, so there will not be any follow-up there. Can the STYX Ferrymen turn this into something? Still a ton of beads available to the Wargs. The only one who doesn't have the beads up is Kana, but he's very mobile at this point, and tanky as well. Yeah, there's no chase potential here for the Ferrymen, so you gotta look at the map elsewhere. What can they do? Yeah. If they play quickly, they might be able to pick up a tier 1 in mid, but after that, it's gotta be a reset. You gotta go back to your own towers and start getting ready for the defense, because the NIFLHEIM Wargs with Fire Giant on 4 should be able to start up their siege in earnest, and their siege is strong, by the way. You've got great objective burn, permanent objectives, the towers. Sweatio's going to remove those pretty fast, considering the type of build that he's gone. No crit, just all penetration across the board. Even Angry to a certain extent with that wall should be able to expedite that process, and the poke potential going to be very strong in these Phoenixes, in these tier 2s. And then you've even got circle protection as well. Wow, this is a very hard to defend situation for the STYX Ferrymen. And they don't have the greatest CC potential. It's something I touched on lightly a moment ago, but who's burning beats?
Yeah.
Who's got the ability to do it? It's Gunter with a stun. That's a pretty hard to land stun in some of these team fight situations. You could do it with EI Jutsu, but that's like the entirety of streak up survivability. If he's dashing to stun somebody, the fight's probably already going the way of the STYX Ferrymen. So who does that leave it up to? It's all got to be Okeanos. And what was it that iRaffer said so long ago? If you are playing Sobek and a carry has their beads up and you pluck them, you are probably just going to die. But it is only Okeanos who can consistently burn those beads. Is it worth his life to go in with a pluck? I'm not sure. I would say no. Legitimately no.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to find out. And so far, it seems like the answer's no. He's misplaced himself, had to go around the long way to get back to the Phoenix. Might go for a dash forward here. Just keep your eyes on that Sobek. Kana and the rest of the crew on the Wargs trying to figure out how to crack this Phoenix. What they did for the right-hand side was burn Azrael down before I think Azrael had any time to respond. World Serpent is available. Beads available as well, which will be helpful if a stun connects. Preds takes a little bit of poke, and they're just poised to knock this one down. Minions are going to take a little while to get here. But Mifflin, much to what you had said, Okeanos is refusing to dash forward. I have not seen even attempt at a pluck. Just in case someone missteps, maybe Okeanos will be there, but you have to be worried, angry, willing to throw out that. Oh, ooh, there's the shot! Oh my god, the ricochet and the damage from Thoth is just too much to handle. Immediately, the team bolts forward. 2 kills onto the backliners like it's nothing, and Ice has nothing to do with this. Half health, and the team will move forward. The Wargs are in the Titan. The Suns have dropped. The damage is there, and they're going to take game number 1 over the STYX Ferrymen.
What a call-out play. Not only was it Angry finding to collat with the ultimate, but also the double bounce from the Ho Yi to set it up, make sure that they were in kill range. I believe it was 14-11 damage, so maybe not even needed, but what a phenomenal play. If you're struggling to crack open a base, that's one way to do it. That's a pretty easy way to do it.
That combo is now, from now on, gets to be known as the Nutcracker. It just
the
really
base
breaks
opener.
the shell. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I need anything else from that game. Just play that on repeat for like 5
Yeah,
minutes.
you hear that
I'd be
production?
pretty
We want that in the reel.
I think it'd be pretty solid. That's an emphasis. That is an exclamation point
Put
to
a
win
period
that
on
game.
that
I mean,
one.
you've been going back and forth. It was relatively even for a lot of it. The wargs are starting to get those kills. I mean, the fights around the FG, around the last Phoenix, it feels like it kind of balanced out at least a little bit. Oh, but geez, that damage at the end. We're going to get to a quick break. I'm going to recover from whatever that end play was, and then we'll be right back to break this down and go into game 2. Welcome back, the Wargs, with an explosive ending in game number 1. Get themselves a dub, put themselves one closer to winning this set up against the STYX FERRYMEN. My name is Gormizer. Again, Mifflin is on the desk with me. And Mifflin, there was like 24 minutes of gameplay there that can kind of just be ignored because the last minute was really cool. But realistically, we should probably talk about it a little more. Good gold fight, I think, from both of these teams early on. STYX have some good experience, at least in terms of diving into the jungle. And then the Wargs took like a gold Fury, and I feel like from that moment forward, it was never really in favor of the STYX anymore.
No, after that, I mean, it was like a series of Gold Furies, right? Just utilizing that superior ability to confirm these objectives. I feel like the Ferrymen weren't putting enough respect on the ability to just walk up with Circle Protection, walk up with a Thoth Ultimate, and say, hey, you can't walk in here. But you're right to say that the early portions of this game were back and forth, neck and neck. I would argue classically European in that they will wait until they can group up as 5, have a lot of those items under their belt, start approaching that level 15 to 20 mark, and then start playing for these team fights. And once we got to that point, the glaring weakness of the Ferrymen's draft being their lack of ability to deal with the beads, the CC immunity of the Wargs, started to rear its head. Whereas the Wargs, on the other hand, well, they just, well, in the very last team fight, ignored CC. They didn't need it. They just did damage. But otherwise have great ability to deal CC to their opposition, be it Spudio with these phenomenal stuns, be it Preds with the silence and a stun combo, Sarpei with the Powwow, even Angry burning out some of those beads with the evade and punish. It was very easy to work through the Ferrymen's front line. And in these long battles of attrition, the team that has longer range damage, the team that has sustained thanks to Fire Giant, will likely start to win out on it. But it didn't come down to that. It came down to this.
Yeah, I don't...
He dashed into it, man.
That hurts. It hurts even more to notice that, right? The 3-point ricochet, you only get hit with the last one, and then it just happened to line up 2 for Angry's ult. I mean, that might as well have just been like the perfect setup for Wargs to kill off the 2 backliners between Gunter and Streak up there. So just, I guess, good on Angry having a shot like that, and Spudio as well. They go absolutely insane here. 24,000 damage, top in the game. Angry takes it towards the very end there over Kana just because of that ultimate and a little bit of the shots afterward. They make sure that they cement themselves at the top. But again, and you had kind of mentioned this early on, it's a little bit more of a toss-up between these two. And if you have that same composition on the Wargs with maybe some heavier CC from the Ferrymen, it might balance out the scales a little bit more. So do you want to see the Wargs go back? Like, they had no tanks on that team. At least Guardians and Warriors were completely a miss. They did build some tanky items, but with some harder CC, Preds probably gets punished a little bit more there.
Yeah, I think that it really was the Jormungandr that held back that draft. Generally in the Soul Lane, you either want to have, going by what we've seen limited from the SPL, you either want a lot of damage, the Bastets, the Cleanas of the world, or you want like securable, easy to find CC, something that can act as that front line to create space around these objectives, and they just didn't quite have that.
We'll see. The Wargs can make, or not the Wargs, they did fine. If the STYX,
do it again.
If the Ferrymen here are going to be making enough of a change in game number 2, as we get into picks and bans for this one in Mifflin. Again, I don't know how much you want to change if you're the Wargs. There's a Kraken, an Agni, a Medusa early on. I mean, the Camazotz was a little bit of a thorn in your side, but they seem to address that pretty early on. The other side, the Khepri, the Bastet, the Heimdall, feels like you could probably trade out like Heimdall. Well, no, Spudio. Spudio's got a nuts Heimdall specifically, and that is like, I think it was one of the most like, hey, if he is on the other team, you have to ban this, otherwise it's like a free win. So actually, I don't even know if you can trade that out of your bans.
No, look, I think that the answer that we saw to the Camazotz from the Ferrymen last time was, hey, we'll do everything around it. Let's just fight the rest of the team. Let's like ignore Ice. We're not concerned with him. So. Instead, I think that the Wargs are in a position where they could have banned it out just to make sure that they are limiting the early game, considering Ice was the silver lining for them throughout every single one of those team fights. He was the only one, I think, who had a good slash line for himself at the end of the game. But I'm expecting broad, sweeping changes here from the Ferrymen's draft. So even in deciding, the Wargs that is, not to ban out that Camazotz.
Are you that impatient for your death?
This is where... They've locked in the Kleena, so I think this is a conversation past. But I was going to say, if you know that you've got a player that's like just absolutely nuts at Heimdall, do you lock him in first to try and strip it away? But if you know that you didn't ban it, and there's a guy on the other side that's nuts at Heimdall, do you take him top 2?
Heimdall's relative power right now, I don't think is high enough that you have to say, hey, we have to take it. Sure, you can say, this guy's really good at the pick, but are you going to force him down into something that's just slightly stronger? I doubt that that's going to be the case.
Oh no, I've got to play a top meta hunter.
Oh no, I'm playing Izanami now. Like, that's not exactly a massive windfall for the STYX Ferrymen. So, sure, you could try and limit that pick, but I think that Heimdall, where did Barracuda put him yesterday? Like B tier, A tier, somewhere in there? But it's not exactly that top of the meta. It doesn't have the greatest level of aggression. This mainstay strength of Heimdall is his ability to survive some of these ganks. Has phenomenal survivability between the Bifrost and CC immunity, the ultimate. Dude,
Wait,
I study him. Heimdall.
Where is he? Why can't I? Am I blind? He put him in S tier, actually.
Oh, dude, they messed up not taking this Heimdall. That's all I'm saying. Oh, he was A tier, I'm pretty sure. They're making mistakes on the STYX Ferrymen.
Nailed that one.
Nailed it.
You can go twitter.com/SBLBolts. We tweeted out Barracuda's.
I will not be caught ill-prepared.
What is that called? Tier list that he made yesterday. And I believe, I have it on decently good authority, and I watched it happen. There will be a video eventually of Venenu, who made one for mid.
There's like 40 mages. How long did we keep him for?
He a lot less time than Barra took, I'll tell you that much. Barra gave a thesis statement on every single god, and Vin said, yeah, that guy's pretty good. He goes up here, something like that. He probably went a little more in-depth than that. Either way, we can catch up on the picks and bans. Ho Yi, as you mentioned, A tier for Barra, but they don't go for the Heimdall, as I potentially thought they would. It does end up banned out. Thoth, Horus make up the top of the Wargs. Ho Yi and that Serket is the final for the Ferrymen here. They ban Heimdall, they ban a Wheelish. Now it's Ares plus insert Guardian here. It's going to be Fafnir.
How'd you know it was going to be a Guardian?
If you ban one Guardian, you got to ban another. It
Fair
feels
enough.
weird to just ban one, you know?
Fair enough. And I think that the Wargs are essentially saying with these the second phase of bans that they realize that this Serket is just going into the jungle. It's going to be very unlikely that we see too much support Serket in the future. That was where she generally found her home in the beginning of Season 9 and the tail end of Season 8, but with some of those scaling changes, she really needs power if she wants the ability to deal any sort of damage to finish off any of these targets. She's also lacking some of the mobility that she had previously, a nerf that she received to her leap. Now that goes 10 units off or maybe 15 units, now in line with the rest of the leaps in the game, whereas previously hers was just a little bit longer than everyone else's. So what does that do to Serket? You're not going to see her in solo. You're not going to see her in support. You're really only going to start seeing her in the jungle, but her damage output is a lot higher nowadays.
Mifflin, I don't know where I want to start, man. There's so much, like, I want to carry that conversation on a little bit because Serket's fun to talk about, but there's a Chalk, there's a Susano. I guess this is Susano solo. I completely glanced over the Tiamat because I guess my brain didn't want her to exist there.
Chalk support?
And wanted it to be a Susano solo? Yeah, so there's that's wild on the side of the Ferryman. Instead, I'll talk about what blew my mind the first time. Thor got locked in.
Woo!
And last I checked, this isn't like an Andenster team. This isn't a adapting team. This is
say the Thor guy.
Gars.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
that's the Thor.
They're the three. That's the three Thor guys.
No, there's one Thor guy, and it's Zero Gars.
Pretty sure adapting has more games played on Thor.
Yeah, pretty sure Zero Gars has a better win rate.
Okay, well, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I can argue. I can look it up, and we can argue about it in a little bit. We'll go into game number 1 and figure out if this Thor has a better win rate, just in general, I guess, overall. He has not been doing too well. Where, Mifflin, where's Thor finding himself? Hold on, we were talking about Gars, right?
We were. Oh, you're gonna fact check me while I
well,
break down the game?
They're both really close. It's just a 4% difference in win rates.
But whose was higher?
Adapting's.
Nuh-uh.
Yep. It goes adapting, Gars, then Andy.
All right, I'll take that.
Gars only has 37 games played on Thor.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he's got
adapting
less games
has
overall.
96.
Adapting's been doing it for longer, okay? So you asked me where Thor
what's he doing here?
Currently in the jungle, getting aggressive on a Gunter inside the tower, but Gunter able to walk out. Thor did not have the hammer available, and Okeanos will fall for first blood over to Spudio. EI Jutsu to close gap and slice that man in half. I want to talk about Thor. I want to talk about how strong that pick is right now, and arguably not very strong. I had the chance to talk to the Bolts about Thor specifically yesterday, and they said the reason we don't see this pick is that he is largely inconsistent. You're not landing all those abilities consistently. If you want to get maximum damage output, you need to consistently find the double tap with the hammer.
That's hard to do.
Incredibly hard to do. You need to find multi-man ultimates, also incredibly hard. But when you do get these dream scenarios, Thor can change the game. And little known fact about Thor, something people don't talk about enough, is some of the minor reworks he's received throughout the years. Now when he lands with his ultimate, he gets like a chain lightning effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is massive. It does a lot, especially when you find 2, 3-man ults. Your damage output goes through the roof. It synergizes very well with his passive of gaining additional power for enemies nearby. So I think that Thor, similarly to Jormungandr, is like 1 buff away from coming solidly back into the meta.
Okeanos knocked up. Okeanos is not having a good time in this lane. I want to dive into that a little bit more, but I want to take what you had said specifically. Why is it, in my brain, it's more likely to hit multi-man Thor ults than it is to hit the double tap consistently. Here to rectify the first blood that ended up happening over here for the Wargs. Ice makes the rotation in. The Susano getting good damage onto Spudio. Takes a good chunk in return. Okeanos gets bullied out, healing from Preds. And this is not going to be a successful gank from the Ferrymen. You had mentioned it, and we had talked about it a little bit. The Serket, a lot of the changes she received recently, meant to take her out of support, throw her into the jungle. Okeanos either didn't get the memo or is trying to go against it anyway. And he got first blooded pretty quickly.
Yeah, Serket in support is just not very good anymore. Your passive, when you stack up the 3 stacks and then land the auto attack, is going to take a major hit. Now needs power scaling for that. The ultimate as well, a little bit weaker. That true damage not as high as it once was in support. You're not as mobile as you once were either, so it's a little bit more difficult to steal away some of these obelisk flowers. But in Okeanos' credit, early game, like levels 1 through 4, Serket support is just about as strong as it once was. It's once you start to get towards that mid-game, you're not as tanky as you were, you're not as mobile, you're not dealing as much damage. She really does start to take some hits to her viability. It's not impossible to play this guy in support. Clearly, he's doing it, but just not an ideal situation, I think.
It doesn't instill a lot of success in my brain. Angry immediately with a great ult. Burns down Ice Sarpei with a brilliant wall. Cut them off. And now Gunter has no mana. And so if they can keep up this onslaught, could have been enough. The root going to be just off the mark there from Angry. So Gunter gets away with their lives, which is more than you can say for Ice.
Yeah, much faster pace of the game here for the Wargs so far. With Okeanos falling over in the duo lane, you should expect that Spudio is going to be able to establish pressure pretty easily there. Similarly, Thor is just stronger at level 4 than a Susano. He simply hits harder. It's very easy for him to mute out a lot of the viability of Susano's kit. When you're in that Berserker's Barrage, you're knockback immune, which means that you can't be pulled by Susano, which means that there's not much Susano can do when Thor is walking you down in those scenarios. Very difficult for Ice to navigate that fight, whereas on the other side, Sarpei, he loves taking engagements at this portion of the game specifically.
This is a good spot to try and get aggressive, as you mentioned with Thor. I was actually thinking about, and this might be weird of me, Thor's passive, really good in these 2v2 skirmishes, right?
Sure
like,
is.
Hey, we're just going to let you fight better, right? And you already mentioned the damage he has. Ult online for Sarpei. That was a big clutch move as well. Angry, getting the farm that Angry had almost a full level lead over Gunter. It's 6-6 now, but you'll see Angry tick over to 7 a little bit quicker. Sarpei is the one I think I want to keep watching though, because these Fire Giant pit ults, we've seen it in the Gold Fury pit, wherever you can just hide somewhere in the jungle and try to get that gain onto a side lane has, well, at least historically been one of the biggest plays a Thor can do. We'll see if Sarpei gives us any spectacles. I will also say the last few times I think we've watched Thor, I'm not particularly remembering any insane ultimates from them.
No, generally it's been out of the soul lane when Thor gets locked in, at least at the SPL level, and it's more so that ultimate used to get involved in the mid 3v3, turn it into a 4v3, set up a couple of these team fights. But as the years have gone on, every SMITE player has essentially gotten better as they've had years and years to practice, and the one way to counter out Thor is to just not stack up on your allies. It's a pretty small circle, all things considered, for an ultimate, so Sarpei going to have to be choosy with these ultimates. Got to be very sneaky with them as well if he wants to find the multi-mans. And STYX FERRYMEN have got great answers to it. If we ever see Sarpei try to dunk Azrael, Azrael's just going to ult it. CC immune, you land into a knock-up silence. It's going to be very hard to navigate for Sarpei. If you ever try and go into Gunter, he can leap it. Ice can just start charging his ult on his own feet, has the delayed activation, so that Tornado can change things up as well.
Uh-oh, Ice chases down Sarpei, and it's the
What a
tower
juke.
damage that ends up doing so much more. Sarpei stays alive despite the damage that gets thrown their way. Azrael has to watch their jungler die under the tower. Sarpei gets away with murder. A missed ult, and not necessarily the cleanest gank we've ever seen. Impressive from them. Now Pred's even getting a little aggressive in mid. This is looking great for the Wargs.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Just 2,000 gold up. Yeah, experience
looking
feeling pretty good. Yeah, you're right. That's good analysis. You took it right
I
right
nailed
out of my
this,
mouth.
baby. Let's go.
Yeah, Ice, I think, just charges up the ultimate a little too long there. Had he insta-popped it, Sarpei's dead.
Oh my god, Okeanos has not a lot of wiggle room here. Uses the toss to at least disengage a little bit. Not a lot of damage that gets dealt. The downside, even though it's true damage, of a Cirquet support. And now you have to watch out. Red buff started up. That Manticore can do a sneaky amount of damage. Still getting this off,
Nice.
apparently, as he
What?
goes
No.
forward. Oh my god, tries to get Okeanos. Doesn't quite find it. Ult is available there for Angry, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the play. Sarpei, speed buff is available for him, but takes the red buff that was there. Maybe not intentionally, at least gets the experience. And you know what? Worse for wear, he's just going to hit harder over the next couple of minutes.
He's already hitting pretty hard. About a half-level lead for Sarpei in the jungle. Ice just now ticking over towards level 8, whereas Sarpei has been sitting there comfortably. It's something I talked about briefly in Game 1, but when you allocate your time to invading, that means you've left your own farm up, and that's where the lead is established for these junglers. It's once you are able to fall back and clear out your own jungle. So we're going to see a pretty large shift in Sarpei's favor shortly as he does that. Now an entire level lead over Ice in the jungle, and this is a slow composition from the STYX Ferrymen. Beazriel goes towards Transcendence in the first slot. Ice is going to need 2 or so more items before Susano gets the ability to act as a solo agent in some of these team fights, finish off his own kills. Even Tiamat, not exactly known for her early game strength. So if the STYX Ferrymen can get to the late game, my only concern for their draft being the Cirquet in support. She is just worse at that role with the changes that she has received. Otherwise, this is a composition that scales very well.
Yeah.
But that's not taking away from the Wargs late game scaling. They've got Kleena out of the soul lane. That's objective burn. You've got Angry on Thoth, who might be one of the best late game mages in the game right now. Even Spudio going to help out with these objectives. And the Wargs are also ahead.
And, well, there's going to be the beads used from Angry, so at least something gets burned away. CC is a lot heavier this time around for the Ferrymen, so those beads should be on cooldown a little more often. Unfortunately, the damage is still there, and Ice gets bodied away. I mean, there's nothing you could do about that. Great play from Sarpei. Preds gets credit for the kill, but we saw that it was the jungler who set that up and just showcased, I mean, a masterclass on Thor so far. The amount of walls that have cut off pathing, the stuns, the setup, this has been wonderful for them. And all around this red buff to boot, so they're going to be able to steal this away. Okeanos in the area. There's a rare mist wall from Sarpei. Once again, takes this red buff. He wants it. And I'm going to have to pay attention. I see his speed buff was taken. I don't know who got it.
He cleared it out a little bit earlier. It just hasn't respawned since that initial clear. So, Sarpei, he just wants to deal more damage. And look, Ice doesn't have beads. Ice doesn't have a CC immune ultimate. Ice doesn't have a chance if he's getting dunked by this Thor, man. He's just going to die, especially with this red buff. I am surprised to see the tower shield pick up for Sarpei, going a little bit more so towards that bruiser path. Generally, we'll see Thors go immediately in towards Hydra's Lament, especially now that it's got 10% additional pen, and it synergizes very well with the Gars combo. I'm going to call it the Gars combo.
Yeah.
The dunk, hammer, wall, land your auto attacks intermittently between those abilities. But instead, wants the ability to stick around in these team fights a little bit more so does Sarpei, and I can't argue with it. He's got red buff. He doesn't need that additional power from the build right now if he can consistently pick that one up. He's also got an experience advantage. He's already got a good deal of time before Ice is going to tick over to level 12. Get the ability to pick up those beads. I think the path from here is clear for Sarpei. It's lock eyes with Ice and make sure that guy isn't having any fun.
And so far, 0-3 and 0, I'd argue he's not having a lot of fun. At least in my experience, I'm not having a lot of fun if I'm in that position. He is a level down, maybe not as much experience as it could be in the jungle, considering that it's only been 3 assists for Sarpei. He goes for the Shifter's Shield, which is one that we don't see as often,
it's a lot
I guess,
of power.
out of all of this. But yeah, I mean, you would wanted him to fight a little bit more. There's going to be 30 power, some prots. And then, of course, well, when you're full health, another 30 power, so 60, right, for a majority of this. He's just going to have a lot of staying power, Mifflin.
Yeah, and it is deceptive how strong that passive is now that it's been, I believe originally it was 50% HP was the threshold for it to go between power.
Yes.
And defense, now it's 75%, so you're getting 40 prots under 75. You're always getting that.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Oh my god.
It's gonna make a big difference for Sarpei. Not that he needed it
here he
here.
goes.
Goes up into the air, and we can ride along with the Thor. Looking
Oh,
for
no.
Ice and finds the dunk. Gets the hammer. Looks for a
Spin.
little bit more. The knockup's not gonna be good. And now it's just gonna be one more auto. Good wall. Cuts him off. Maybe not the cleanest gank onto Ice. In fact, it looks like Ice is gonna get out of here and stay alive. Preds gets the dash. Manages to escape this one for now. Streak up. Is around, looking for a little bit more. Up to the sky goes Preds. Wall was good, not good enough. Suns get dropped, and Azriel is starting
Body
to get
blocks.
aggressive. Good body blocks, good lockdown, and a lot of damage in return. Spudio at least finds a punch back, but they lose a lot just to pick up one kill.
Yeah, I like the idea from Sarpei to dunk Ice. I mean, no beads, no chance, right? You got the Berserker's Barrage to immune the knockup from the ultimate from the Susano, but he just killed a guy. He just used the entirety of his kit just seconds ago to finish off the support. Speaking of finishing him off, Kana gonna get the last hit onto
Jeez,
Gunter
Pete's.
inside his own tower. Level 15 on this Kleena. When did he have a 3-level lead over B Azriel? When did that happen? Probably during that rotation. Ice comes back from base and can only assume he's gonna lose his life. And I would have assumed wrong. Makes me look stupid, doesn't it? Kana not able to confirm that kill, but Ice may as well be dead because at 10% HP, he's going to clear a back camp and then go back to base.
That's twice now that Ice has maintained, like just enough health to stay alive. Neo dodged out of the way of the death that was inevitable. And, well, lucky for him, that's stopped him from being 0-5-0. And second time around, 0-4-0 after the first one missed. So Kana maybe a little bit of a misstep there, but you had mentioned it, 3-level lead, and he's 2-0. I don't think he's really upset about it right now. Taking a lot more damage from the
Four's
shock
up.
than I would have thought, but it's going to be Sarpei, the dunk, the stun, and all you need is one more
Not going
hit.
that way.
They're going to force the juke. He has to go into the jungle. Sarpei's looking for a little more. Wall hammer combo should be coming up. The wall gets thrown out, but the teleport's better from Azriel. And once again, that's another kill right through the fingers of the Wargs.
Yeah, but I don't think the Wargs are too concerned because they still find the TKO. They still are able to fall back towards this Pyromancer. Ice might be privy to it, but he's not pathing as if he is. Should know now that Angry's thrown some abilities over the wall, but finds out a little bit too late. The Wargs get themselves the Pyromancer. It's whether or not they can get themselves out of dodge. And Ice is going to try his best to stop it.
I was actually thinking the opposite. Okeanos jumps in and goes immediately to toss it back. A double stun from Sarpei. Okeanos is low, but
Kana.
so is the jungler. Thor goes down, so it's 1-for-1, but they're going to pick up a couple more. Ice too deep, and Kana has rotated in, is looking for the kill. And guess what? Here's backup. Preds goes in. Preds gets the stun, and Gunter gets taken down, angry with a double kill, and looking to plant the damage out onto Azriel. Between him, between Kana, between Preds, it should be enough to lock down this shock. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and the kills read 11-3, 14.5 in the game.
And the salt in the wound of the Ferrymen there is that they kill Thor, right? Sarpei's been having a phenomenal game. I think we can
Yes.
both agree, Gore.
He got a two-man stun to start that.
Got a
off.
two-man
Ooh.
stun, does a ton of damage. Look at his slash line. He's 0-2. His bounty is nothing. Everything he's done for his team has been just that, for his team. So in trading out his own life, even though he's having a phenomenal game, even though he's getting involved in every single fight, his bounty is minuscule, which means that it is a not valuable trade for the STYX Ferryman whatsoever. I mean, a 4-for-1 is never feeling great, but usually you want that one to give you over something. Sarpei is just not worth it. Only 1-level lead in the jungle. That's tough.
Oh, Okeanos. Okay, he's gonna be able to get out of there. It's like they kill him. Enjoy the nickel.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's it. You're not getting anything for this. We got 4 of you. What did you get? And they got a Pyromancer, and you know what? They're gonna start a Gold Fury. They're looking for all the money in the bank. Preds, Spudio starting that up, and Kana is nearby. This is gonna be the big question mark of how they burn this down. Angry wants the kill. They go immediately onto Okeanos. Gets over the wall.
Surely not.
Nah, not gonna go for the blind shot. You can see Sarpei's
big
looking for a
whiff.
fight onto Ice. Misses the dunk.
Massive whiffs.
Misses a lot of the damage as
Early
well.
Aegis.
And that is going to be the knock-up. Ice isn't going to get the kill. The Wargs still get the Gold Fury, so realistically, Ice is just distracted through that duration. We can see the camp timers. Might get some back camps here. Might be overextended because Kana's making a good rotation.
Yeah, Ice, he realizes that the collapse is coming his way. We'll see if
there's Preds.
Azriel has realized. He has. Split targets here. Angry goes for Ice, everybody else on to Azriel. And when you split your targets, you generally won't be able to get any of them. the STYX Ferrymen, able to walk themselves out of there, but the objective wasn't able to. The Wargs picked that one up. The gold, the experience, all favoring the Order side, and we're starting to approach that magical time in SMITE, where around that 18-minute mark, where Fire Giant becomes a feasible target. I'd argue that we've expedited that, though.
Yeah.
If the Wargs go to Fire Giant now, I'm not complaining.
Something, you know, about the number like 8,000 when it's in the gold column. Something about the number like 11,000 when it's in the experience column. 4 levels in solo, by the way.
Yep.
You start to see the timer on when can we successfully Fire Giant go down pretty well. 3 levels there in mid, as well as 2 levels for the carry. So you're feeling pretty good about pretty much everyone's level. The only person who's close. Oh, that's SarPay on par with Ice, so good on Ice, keeping the farm up despite being at 1 and 4. But you got to be a little more careful than that, and that is why it is so close. Unfortunately,
got the jump.
Been doing too much, and Okeanos goes in too far, goes for the ult on the Preds. That might be a little bit of damage. SarPay's up into the sky. Might be looking for something. I don't know if they want to go in here. I don't know. Gunter's backing into the tier 2. You got back up there. No, they fall back. And you're right. Surely not.
Yeah, not this time. SarPay's having a good game. He's not going that crazy, though.
Yo, you want to dunk the tier 2, though?
Maybe if he got, like, any of his kills, my heart goes out to SarPay. 7 assists doesn't feel great when you've got 0 in the kill column. Had any of those kills gone his way, maybe the lead would have been enough for him to
If I'm a
go for those
support, I
dives.
love this slash line, right?
Yeah, but
if
he
I'm a
isn't.
jungler, I'm crying my eyes out.
You're hating it. You are absolutely hating it, bro. But I think the Wargs holistically are loving it because they are very much in the lead, and using that lead will go ahead and pull out the Fire Giant because Kana is just keeping 3 people busy in mid.
Azriel's gonna
What
spot
happened?
this
Ice
out.
Ice?
They've got 2 people here. Ice is just gone. I didn't even notice what was going over
He
there. I
got
was
hammered.
watching the health bar that was happening a little bit closer to the screen. Preds is low. I was thinking, oh man, Azriel's gonna come in. They're 2v1 on the Fire Giant. What's gonna happen?
This is slow.
That's completely transitioned. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of time.
Yeah, reset
Spudio
that.
doesn't have a lot of damage. Doesn't need it on the Fire Giant. Finds it on the Okeanos like it's nothing. That's 2 gone, and it is a 5v3 on the right-hand side of the map. Fire Giant is not gonna get pulled. In fact, we see a couple of backs here, but I see a Silver Branch bow that just gets picked up. That's going to be a power spike for Spudio.
Yeah, Spudio's loving this tank shred style of build as Azriel takes a good deal of damage here.
Angry.
Should be just fine, able to avoid the stun, but can he avoid all this?
Well, Azriel's going to get dunked on here. Stun's going to be just good enough, and there's the damage. The
Little
ult
more.
thrown out by Angry, and it's not been enough yet. Spudio comes in to save the day. They get the kill on top of that. It's a good stagger, 40 seconds without him. Streak Up jumps in and tries to go for SarPay, but it's a double kill for the carry, a single kill for the jungler, and now what feels like a free Fire Giant for the Wargs.
Well, it might feel that way, but Ice is going to try his best to create some intrigue. Oh, there goes. There goes the intrigue. Kana found him. And is going to deal a lot of damage here. That's a teleport from Ice, but he needs that to escape.
Okeanos jumps in, gets knocked up. Ice, ult is available, forced away. Okeanos is super low, but his Cirquet should be able to escape. Maybe not. You had mentioned the nerfed mobility. Kana's keeping up pretty well here. The damage is good, but not quite good enough. Okeanos gets out of here. Kana stays alive. Ice is once again around the corner. Pings on that ward. Should be
ults.
seen. Has his ult, but he gets stunned. The bead's on cooldown. Fire Giant goes to the Wargs. The kill on top of it goes to Spudio. And Angry just barely lives through that one. It's now, hey Mifflin, 18-3, 20 minutes in. And a 12K gold lead for the Wargs. Feeling pretty confident. And Azriel's, well, he's getting maybe some poke that he did not need here in solo lane.
Yeah, he'll sustain it back up. He's chalk.
Yeah,
I think it was worth it to hit that enter key and type at his teammates for just a moment. Look, the Wargs can do just about no wrong. This game is now in fumble territory. And when I say that, I mean it's going to have to take a fumble. The STYX Ferrymen need a miracle because this lead is nearly insurmountable considering the timing of this game. 20 minutes in, 13,000 gold, Fire Giant on 5, and plenty of towers to pick up to push that gold lead even further. Primal Fury going to be spawning very shortly as well, so the Wargs will have a fallback objective or just something to pick up on the way as they start to push down these lanes. Whereas the STYX Ferrymen have been struggling. Gore, I'm going to ask you a question, analyst to analyst. You know,
Okay,
we've both been around the scene for a while.
Yeah.
How you feeling about Cirquet support in current meta?
Not that great.
Yeah, data seems to reveal it's not looking so good right now.
I've seen one game and they're 0-5-1. They jump in, they die.
Yep.
Feels pretty bad.
He just autoed for 606. Thor did, by the way.
That's a heavy auto.
It is. I thought maybe he had like Bumba Spear, but I forgot that he went Eye of the Jungle, so he doesn't even have the upgraded starter. That's just Thor damage, man. Sarpei, if he connects with anybody who doesn't have beads, and Ice doesn't have beads right now, I think Ice might just die.
Preds goes up in the air. Oh, they're looking to drop ship onto somebody. The whole crew.
Oh, right,
Saying
Phoenix.
Now they're going into the Phoenix. What a great play. Immediately transverse
the
map.
TP.
And now they're going to be in a good spot. TP is going to get forced out by Azrael. He's surrounded by 5, though. Phoenix maintains its life for now. Can the Ferrymen do the same? Sarpei gets taken down. This is a great fight so far. And a whiff from Angry means the ult doesn't connect. The Ferrymen are alive, and they got a prime kill onto the jungler.
Yeah, Azrael saves that play. The teleport to Phoenix, a new change, by the way, for teleport. That's something that we've only seen in the last couple of months or so, but still massive. If he doesn't go in there, if he doesn't find the triple silence, if he doesn't force the ultimate from Spudio outside of the Phoenix, not only would the Phoenix have fallen, but Sarpei likely would have lived. So phenomenal play. Heads up from Azrael as well. That was a quick teleport from him to save that right side Phoenix and potentially extend this game to another Fire Giant dance. That is a lot of the siege potential lost out immediately by the Wargs. You still have a minute to play with once Sarpei respawns if they want to try and reprise their role of Phoenix Siegers. But I gotta say, man, STYX FERRYMEN, I said it was in fumble territory. I said it would have taken a miracle. That play makes it that much easier to find that miracle in the future.
Yeah, one step closer. And here's the thing about level 20, Mifflin. Everything stops there, right?
Yeah,
So
the great equalizer.
You're looking at Streak Up, level 19. Well, guess what? Now you're only 1 level down. What was 3 levels for Gunter? Guess what? Now you're only 2 down. What was 4 for Azrael? Now you're only 2 down. A lot more potential to catch up here for the Ferrymen in terms of experience. A lot of that's going to change in the gold. You had called the Hydra earlier for Sarpei. Has the Hydras online. And went into the Titan's Bane as well. So, you know, a ton that is picked up. Is even upgraded his Jotuns, which is something we don't get to see too often, the glyph there. And so feeling really solid with this build. We saw the damage. We'll see if it can do enough here. Good stun onto Okeanos. And oh man, this Circuit just cannot catch a break. Stays alive a little bit longer, but not too much. Preds says all of that. Look where Ice, I mean, just deleted from the map. Same thing for Gunter. He barely makes it out of this one. And even though Sarpei lost the FG, this siege, well, it's been opened right back up. 5 seconds left on the FG. They're at least getting a tier 2 and the left side Phoenix.
I didn't realize Thor was capable of dealing that much damage, man. That spin does so much to Gunter, forces the disengage, and now 30 seconds left on Ice to respawn. STYX FERRYMEN, good luck.
Oh, what a shot! Streak Up has nothing to work with, but no one's closing the gap. Wall from Sarpei, a little look at Streak Up's health, though. Barely makes it out of there. The Phoenix is the target. Azrael, 3-man silence. Does not have enough to get aggressive. The damage is there. The bird is killed. And they're going to be able to walk back off of this one. It's reset, 30 seconds for a Fire Giant. Once again, feels good to be the Wargs.
Yeah, the Wargs in a very good position
Almost
now.
20,000 gold.
Hey, that's enough gold, I think. Yeah, eventually they're not going to be able to buy items anymore. They have to like stuff that gold into a sock and start swinging it around like a mace, man. Because
it becomes the 7th item.
Yeah.
Pow!
Yeah, good luck. All right. The STYX FERRYMEN, I think, are now in a position where they've seen the base defense doesn't look very good. Once lined up against a Thoth in those situations, it is a long shot. So instead, I think we are likely going to see the age-old classic Hail Mary group up, and we're already starting to see traces of it here, but if the Warg spot it out, all they have to do is walk away.
Well, unfortunately, Okeanos gets spotted out. A lot of CC thrown onto the Circuit, and a lot of damage. Immediately finds the kill. Azrael trying to do whatever they can to lead the way forward, be the only frontliner. Sarpei into the back line, onto Streak Up immediately. The damage is there. It's Kana who ends up going down. Sarpei has to fall back. Azrael, a couple more hits is all it takes, and Spudio picks up a second for this fight, and they have a lot of wiggle room to work with. Sarpei versus Ice. Sarpei's got a lot of damage, but not enough to take down the jungler on the other side. Instead, it's everyone else dying on the Ferryman. Gunter getting chased down. Spudio onto the horse, mounted up and chasing him down. He's going to pick up quite a few. 10 and 0 for the Hachiman, and they've got minions in the Titan room. Ice is going to clean that up, but the Fire Giant's going towards the Wargs.
Yeah, Ice and Okeanos should be enough to maintain the Titan's HP bar, at least against these minions, until the Wargs are able to pick up this objective and regroup. Great play from Ice to find a pick onto Sarpei. Had Sarpei lived that engagement, likely we're talking about post-game stats right now, right? It probably would have resulted in the Titan falling down. So the STYX FERRYMEN from the brink, able to maintain their life in this set so far, but the gold lead's still massive. Fire Giant on 3, 2 Phoenixes down, and the 1 Phoenix still remaining has already been weakened earlier on. Has regened a fair bit of HP, but will never be quite as strong as it once was. I think the NIFLHEIM Wargs, it's pretty clear, man. There's only one place they can go. I don't think you're really worried about a Primal Fury right now. Group up, go to that right side Phoenix, utilize that phenomenal siege potential that we've seen time and time again already. Double global presence, Sarpe and Preds, Angry dealing damage from further away than anyone else is allowed to, and the fact that every time Okeanos jumps in, he just dies. I mean, that all adds up to a winning strategy for the Wargs here.
I think watching Ice, he just back to base, but I believe he was going for a steal onto the Obelisk. He at least tried to take some of those Lotusts. Late game maybe doesn't make as big a difference, but they were almost full on it, so they're still going to get like a little bit of gold out of that. But then, of course, Sarpe has to pick up the last 2 offerings, spawn it, and force him to feel like he's, well, a little out of position. Backs up. And this is where I'm wondering, Preds, this ultimate, we've seen some crazy things done with Horus. That Titan's exposed. Granted, there's no minions, so
it's
maybe
low
you
too.
do want to play this one safe and go for it. Okeanos gets a little aggressive, tries to find anybody here to throw him into the Phoenix. He's not going to be able to find it. Maintains his ult, but loses out on the blink.
Yeah, Sarpe lining up against Ice in the jungle as well.
Just get in there.
Some 1v1s. Yeah, look, I don't think Preds can just ult in.
Yeah, just do it.
Why not just keep doing this? They've got better poke. The Wargs can just keep damaging the Ferrymen.
Well, Sarpe is going to ult, looking for somebody.
Surely not.
He's going in
3?
as well. Gets a 3-man stun. You mentioned the chain lightning earlier. The damage is going to be there. Gunter, Okeanos, they maintain their lives, but they're so low they're forced out. Phoenix goes down. Left side, guess what? It's going to burn down thanks to the fire minions. Mid, well, it's not going to last too long under the eyes of the Wargs. That Titan is not going to heal up. They're going to set themselves up potentially for the game-ending play.
Yeah, no beads on Gunter, so the next bit of CC that finds its way home towards him should likely spell his death. Okeanos tries to step forward, be a support, be that initiator, remembers that he's Surcat and has to go back towards his own fountain. Titan's down to 50%, no Phoenixes left standing. The Wargs, they just have to make contact.
Just trying to go in. Preds blinks forward, but a blink back. There's going to be a frenzy as well here for the Ferrymen. Do they have the damage? Sarpe takes a ton, but look at the Titan. It just gets dropped like it's nothing. Who needs the kills? They've got the win. The Wargs take this one 2-0.
30 total kills and 24 in the Wargs column. That is a great ratio plus L for the other team.
Yeah.
Look, man, the game one, back and forth. It was won and lost off of one objective play. Game 2 was never in question.
They kind of just did the thing for
They
a
did it
lot
to
of
them.
that. I mean, immediately, like, first blood happens in the duo lane, and we're like, I don't know about this Surcat support. Doesn't seem like it's feeling too hot. I don't think it ever started feeling too hot. A good little bit of CC. Sarpe just has a nuts game. We're going to look at all those numbers, all of that, and of course look at Europe as we've seen it so far today, right after this. That's right. The Niflheim Wargs stand tall this time. Game 1, well, Mifflin, it's a little bit of back and forth between these two teams. Game 2, I think anything but. It immediately kicks off into a lane, and they did not stop throughout the rest of that game. I just think well played from them. And I don't know how much more I have to say about that. They look real good. What do you have to say about that?
Thanks, Gore.
Yeah.
You really set
You're
me
welcome.
up for a dub here, man. No, games like that really
It's like
are.
we were playing T-ball. I set it up, and then I yanked the thing out so the ball would drop.
Swing fast.
Why didn't you go?
These games are really hard to break down, right? Because it's not as if one moment changes the game or one team fight or one objective. It really was just systematic destruction top to bottom from the rip as well. I believe it was second wave where we saw first blood in the duo lane, and it did not slow down from there. I think a game like this you could probably largely chalk up to draft diff. Even both
Chalk
games
up.
this set where have been a little bit of draft diff, Gore, but yeah, man, this one for sure. I'm going to lay a lot of the onus at the feet of this Circuit in the support role. It just really was not able to hit the ground running, not only first blooded on second wave, but second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth blooded throughout the course of this game. No kills, no initiations either that were particularly impressive. And then from there, the Wargs say, word, it's essentially a 5 versus 4, and those are games that you win.
You had mentioned it early on, Ice no beads, and so that made it pretty easy for Sarpei to just dunk, combo, slam, death immediately into Ice. It also is worth mentioning, and Spudio is the guy, because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, doesn't die that game. I guess we'll see it here.
It's like 11-0,
and I know he was 10-0 at one point. Yeah, it ends at 10-0-1, so a lot of those last kills going around his team. But that's nuts. Both him and Angry did not die this game once, not a single time. Preds only died once.
Yeah, Spudio
In fact, if I'm Sarpei, I'm mad.
Sarpei's like, I did so much work the entire game. I barely get any kills, and I'm dying.
Preds had like
exclusively.
as many kills as I did, and I did like 5 times more damage than he did.
Dude, Preds actually took his kills like a couple times too. So, look, great game here, top to bottom for the Wargs. Obviously, just having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
At expense of both teams.
Hey, you're
here.
good.
Yeah, you guys are really good. Congratulations. I'm
What do
not
you want us
happy
to
that anything
say?
good happened for you. It should have happened for me instead. Next desk.
I wouldn't. Okay, yeah, that's you know what? I don't know where to recover from that one. Hey, that's going to be Europe for today, though. We can take, I think, a look at how things are standing for them, because that's, I mean, 2-0s, the Gladiators as well as the Wargs now standing up a little bit towards the top, and of course we have North America that we're going to be breaking down. But I think the Ravens and the Mambo are the teams that are still going to be playing tomorrow morning, and so that's going to be another interesting one. I think North America closes us out this week with like the Wardens and the Weavers on Sunday. I've got it written down in front of me. This is not like impressive memory. I'm literally cheating is the way I would describe it. I took a lot of good notes, but 2-2-0s here, and we'll figure out how Europe ends up wrapping up tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., April 1st. And I promise you, it's not a joke. At least this one's
you
not.
sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure we're gonna do something. You're
way.
gonna be silly all day tomorrow. I can already feel it.
Surely
man.
not.
Surely not. Mifflin being goofy, never.
I'm super serious. It's the 31st right now, Gore. We got to tighten up.
Yeah, you're right.
Tomorrow, we'll
tomorrow, everything's all hell's let loose. We can see again. There's the European schedule that we're going to be knocking out. 2-2-0 so far today. Up next, Mifflin, we're going over to North America. A lot, again, familiar names. We got to see some of these teams that are going to be playing not just today, but throughout the SEC this phase, try out for a spot at Worlds, do pretty well against a lot of the top teams that showed up there. And now they're going to be fighting, essentially, to fight those SPL teams more often throughout this year. I believe in Masters, they get their chance to fight against them and things like that. So there's a lot for this phase to look forward to for them. And again, a lot of big names that just exist, like a lot of strong teams. I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, next set is the Hounds versus the Sages, and the Sages are a team that I'm specifically keeping my eyes on for the North American SEC, previously known as Samsara. That's a team that previous caster, Taco, is coaching.
Yeah.
That's a squad that has been continually impressing, specifically Privative out of support, has been incredibly impressive in my eyes, so very excited to move across the pond and watch these guys.
Here's that NA schedule. As mentioned, Sages Hounds are going to be the first one. The Eldritch Hounds, by the way. That sounds sick. The Yomi Tanuki going up against Shibalba Storm a little bit later on.
Gore, fun fact.
Yeah.
My first ever SEC team name was Yomi.
Was Yomi.
Just Yomi.
So it's coming back now. They adopted the Danzaburo.
All right, I'm going to give everybody a quick lesson on what Yomi is. I think the terminology has like actual historical bearing, but I'm going to talk about it in just the gaming sense. Yomi originated in the fighting game scene, the FGC, and it is the art of reading your opponent. We call them soul reads. It's when you see something and you predict it.
So you're saying that they're going to be able to. Who are they playing up against a little bit later? They're going to be looking at the Shibalba Storm and making a lot of reads. I guess you can kind of it works out really well. You can read like when a storm's happening as meteorologists.
Sure.
It's kind of like their whole thing.
I mean, I think they're guessing, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like educated guessing because sometimes they are wrong. But you forgive them. Either way, it's going to be fun to watch again. Up first is going to be the Athenian Sages versus the Eldritch Horrors. We're going to go to North America right after this.